WhatsApp has criticised Russian authorities for what it's calling Moscow's attempt to fully block access to the messaging app, which is used by some 100 million Russians. Moscow claims this is about sovereignty and safety, saying that the app allegedly failed to cooperate with law enforcement cracking down on fraud and terrorism. Critics, though, say this is simply a further push towards digital isolationism in Vladimir Putin's increasingly authoritarian Russia. Well, let's talk about this then with Douglas Herbert, our foreign affairs commentator. Hello, Doug. Well, what do you make of this then? The Kremlin's argument that this is about safety and security, whereas there are others who say, look, this is about freedom of expression.
Yeah, well, the first thing I make of this, Nadia, is this is not today's headline. Specifically, WhatsApp is now in the crosshairs. But we have seen really since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine back in back in 2022, we have seen an increasing tightening of the screws, of the noose, if you will, on a free internet, on social media in Russia, amid a general tightening on civil society and other types of free expression. So this is all part and parcel of that intensification of a crackdown on free expression, on dissent, on any ability to move within sort of a free civic society space. That said, what's going on here with WhatsApp especially, and we've had also now Telegram in the crosshairs, is you've essentially had both of them almost entirely, if not entirely, erased from the internet. That is, that the ability of Russians to freely access WhatsApp, which is right now the most popular messaging app in Russia, about 100 million users, has been all but blocked unless you're very savvy and have VPNs and all of that. But this is a sabotage effort that has been underway for months. If you go back to almost last summer and early autumn, you had basically, if you tried to make video or voice calls on either WhatsApp or on Telegram, you got like a metallic, a sort of buzzing sound. It was very hard. The technology was being installed to impede the ability to really make clear calls. On the state-sanctioned, Kremlin-backed, domestic, state-controlled app, Max it's called, the super app, like the Chinese one, crystal clear calls. Communication, absolutely perfect. Coincidence? I think not. What you basically have wrapped up in different packaging, as you said, the Kremlin is claiming this is about a sovereign internet. This is about our state security. This is about cracking down on fraud and terrorism unregulated by the app providers. What you can also say this is about, and make a very legitimate argument, this is about sort of cutting off Russians from both Western technology, that is non-foreign technology in these apps, and any other foreign influences, cutting the outside world, cutting it out, so that you can have your own domestic state-controlled app that is better able to corral, to police the way Russians users use the internet. It is basically saying authoritarian states and free-ranging social media and internet, they don't go well hand in hand.
And how is WhatsApp and indeed Telegram responding to what Moscow's doing?
Yeah, well, WhatsApp, remember, owned by Meta, they've been very categorical, as you said at the outset. They see this as a blatant, egregious attempt to fully block access to a very popular messaging app. They're saying that it represents a, quote, backward step. That's what they've been saying, their spokespeople. And they say that it could actually lead to less safety for Russian citizens. Contrary to the claims of the Kremlin that this is about security and going after fraud and terrorists, less safety, they say they are doing everything possible to keep users connected. Now, Pavel Durov, who is the billionaire entrepreneur behind Telegram, which also has, I think, 55 to 60 million users in Russia, is used by a lot of the military as well. He says I'm quoting, restricting access to a Telegram to force its citizens into a state-controlled app built for surveillance and political censorship. That's how he sees this. He says this authoritarian mood won't change that is Telegram's course. Telegram is going to continue to stay the course for freedom and privacy no matter the pressure. So he very much following the same line as WhatsApp. He says that he sees a free, unrestricted messaging service as actually crucial to creating a free environment for free expression in Russia. So they've pushed back hard.
And look, just finally, Doug, what can Russians do, if anything? You mentioned VPNs, but to try and get around these bans. I mean, WhatsApp is pretty crucial for most people.
Getting harder for them, Nadia, to use VPNs. A few months ago, when all these bans, first the restrictions started coming into place, if you went on to, say, Facebook, Instagram, you still saw tons of Russians on them. You're like, well, how are they using it? They were using VPNs. The thing is, Russia, Putin, is catching up. He's basically passed a lot of legislation making it basically illegal for Russians to search for what he calls, in quotes, extremist content under these laws. How do you enforce this, really? The VPN providers themselves are facing such economic duress and sanctions and difficult market conditions that they've been leaving Russia. So the only VPN providers that are able really to stay are the very savvy and daring Russian ones who are willing to still provide these services. So yeah, technology, technically, you're a savvy internet user, young person, you're used to using VPNs, you can still find ways, but it's getting harder and harder. The Kremlin is playing more and more catch up, enlisting more and more of their own tech people to try to go there. So it's getting more and more dangerous to even do searches for anything that the Kremlin, and this is a key distinction, anything the Kremlin deems to be an extremist search.